Today, I'm talking about blue light. Now, you might have seen products that are advertised as blue light protective or blue light blocking, but what is blue light and how does it really affect the skin? Do we even need to protect from it? I'm covering all of that today, so stick around. I'm Dr. Sam Ellis, and I'm a board-certified dermatologist. I'm here to help you understand your skin and find skincare products that work for you. Before I can get too much into blue light, I think it's important to understand where most of the light that exists on Earth comes from, and that is the sun. About 5% of the light from the sun comes to Earth as UV light. That is light that we cannot see. It's ultraviolet, meaning that it is such short wavelengths that we cannot perceive it with our human eyes. But it is the UV light that dermatologists won't shut up about because it causes photoaging, DNA damage, skin cancer, sunburns, all the things we do not like to see on ourselves or on our patients. Now, the sun also emits infrared light. This is light that we perceive here on Earth as heat, and it makes up about 45% of the light that makes it to Earth. And then in between the ultraviolet light and the infrared light, we have visible light. And within visible light, we have blue light. So visible light is the light we can see. It makes up about 50% of the light that makes it onto Earth from the sun, and it exists as red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet light. Within the visible light spectrum, blue light and really violet light too have a categorization as high energy visible light, or HEV light. And that is because when you compare blue and violet light to red light, it has a much higher energy. It sits right on the spectrum next to ultraviolet light, which is the bad boy of light. So it kind of makes sense that blue and violet light might cause some problems too. Although the vast, I can't stress this enough, vast majority of visible light and blue light make it to Earth from the sun, there is a very small amount of blue light that gets emitted from screens, devices, and overhead lights. But for how small of an amount of light that gets emitted by those devices, it sure creates a ton of worry, so we should talk about that. There are several papers that summarize the amount of light that gets released from tablets, devices, computers, essentially screens. And what they've shown is it's such a negligible amount of blue light that it's probably not worth worrying about in terms of the damaging effects that it can have on the skin. There's even a publication that shows that patients with melasma who are exposed to their tablets for a certain period of time didn't show any worsening of their pigmentation from that type of blue light exposure. The main concern with high energy visible light, or blue light, is that it can induce excess pigment production in the skin. So it can contribute to things like post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, like if you had trauma to your skin from an acne bump that you maybe picked, you can get excess pigment deposited in the skin, which is generally unwanted. It might exacerbate or worsen melasma, which we know has always been stimulated by UV exposure, but now we think blue light may also contribute. And then it really is the most problematic for people who have darker skin tones. When we look at how blue light affects people with more fair skin versus darker skin, we know that patients who have darker skin are more prone to hyperpigmentation when exposed to excess blue light. There's also this concern that blue light might induce oxygen-free radicals in the skin, which are these very unstable particles that can cause damage to collagen and other structures and may lead to premature aging. But so far, the data has not really shown that blue light itself is problematic. We know that UV light is terrible for premature aging, but blue light, when there's no UV light involved, doesn't seem to really cause the same types of problems. So it's not something I'm worried about at this time based on the data that we have. So how much blue light do you really need to be exposed to cause a problem? Now, this will really vary because, well, what I'm talking about is the blue light from the sun, because that is the vast majority of the blue light we're exposed to. It's the main type of blue light that has the potential to be problematic, and the amount we get from the sun will vary based on where you live on this Earth, what time of year it is, what time of day it is, but on average, 30 minutes of midday sun is enough to induce pigmentation from blue light exposure. Really, to summarize that point, based on the data that we have, the people who should be concerned about blue light are those that struggle with hyperpigmentation. And if you are going to be worried about protecting yourself from blue light, you should be concerned more about the blue light or the visible light that comes from the sun, and not concern yourself with the blue light that comes from tablets and other devices. When it comes to protecting your skin from blue light, I would encourage people to sort of use the same strategies that they use to protect themselves from UV light, which is to avoid midday sun exposure, seek shade when possible, and use sun protective clothing like wide brim hats, long sleeves, sunglasses, all the sexy stuff. In addition to that, people should be wearing sunscreen to protect from UV light, but the thing to note about blue light protection is that traditional sunscreens generally don't protect against it unless they are tinted. So normal sunscreen filters like zinc, titanium dioxide, the organic or chemical sunscreen filters, they do nothing to protect you from blue light. It's really the iron oxide that is contained within pigmented or tinted sunscreens that affords you that additional blue light protection. Iron oxides are also something used to color or pigment foundations and CC creams. So another way to get blue light protection is if you already have a sunscreen that is untinted that you like, put that sunscreen on first, let it dry, and then go in with your foundation or your CC cream on top. The first layer is going to be protecting you from UV light, and then that foundation with iron oxides is going to be protecting you from blue light. So it's kind of like a 1-2 punch. So there you have it, a little summary on blue light and how it affects the skin. I hope you learned something. Please like and subscribe. Come follow me on Instagram at Dr. Samantha Ellis, where I talk about all things skin and skincare, as well as my days in the life as a dermatologist. If you have any questions about how blue light affects the skin, drop it in the comments section below. Also, if you've found any blue light protective devices or products that you really love, I'd love to hear all about them. Take care, and I'll see you next time.